When the UN declares that Honduras has to change its constitution and cannot protect the life of the unborn, well, it is a form of a very strong pressure. But not more than that. No. When the court declares that in a judgment against the country, in principle, that is mandatory. So, that is what is important. These two bodies, the CDH, that is the Inter-American Commission, and the court are told. Look, I remember that a few years ago, I think it was in 2018, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, the CIDH launched an advisory opinion for Costa Rica, where, in a totally imperative manner, it called on all the OAS states to reform their legal, administrative, legislative systems, among others, to generate the right to gender identity, homosexual adoption, and homosexual marriage. Those were the 3 points at the time I had studied the ruling, and they covered themselves with the concept of a progressive interpretation of rights. So, they interpreted very whimsically the human rights of this particular system that we are talking about. They interpreted it by modifying it according to the fashionable ideology, and according to that ideology, in vague they said, this is the interpretation according to the progressiveness of the law. So, the later impacted the states, because that is an input so that later one can say, well, it is an advisory opinion, but that advisory opinion, the language was wholly imperative. That is crazy, for several reasons. First, that advisory opinion says the name, the state gave the court the power to give an opinion on issues, but the court says that these opinions are mandatory. Second case, I am going to show you in a while where the person who paid for that advisory opinion is from, and why. In other words, that was in 2017, advisory opinion 24 of 17. And third, the Costa Rican government at that time, and it says so because we were in the courtroom, a public hearing is held before the opinion. When a judge, a good judge, the only good judge who had the previous session, Bio Grossi, asks the state, if you want to get gay marriage out, why don't you go and get it out? Why are you coming to court for? Then the consulting agent comes clean and tells him that the parliament, which was voted for the people, doesn't want to promote it. So we come to you to bypass the will of the people and be able to do it by force. He didn't use these exact words, but they said exactly the same thing. That's the introduction I just did. Let's see. What seems to be in the air in my introduction is what Sebastian, with this example, is bringing down in a concrete way, since this agenda often has an objective political limitation in what has to do with the representative of the people. And in the democratic system, it goes to those international bureaucracies that do not pay political costs, because we don't choose them. Well, then, the resolution comes from the top down, instead of from the bottom up, which will be, in principle, democratic logic, which we are not going to talk of those systems. In other words, the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. And from the court, do you also have information about? Yes, exactly. As I was saying, we began to investigate how these organs are financed, and we made a series of findings, which we published. You can download them at www.globalcenterforhumanrights.org reports. There it is. I'm going to put them on the description of the video. The link will also be in the description of the video. To round the point then, what is the effect that these organisms have on the future of our nations? In other words, on the one hand, we talked about the issue of the advisory opinion, but what kind of concrete effects can be generated there? The effect is tremendous because, for some reason that I don't fully understand, not only do they not pay the political costs, but it is not a matter of daily politics. It doesn't appear in the papers, it doesn't appear in the newspapers, and yet the power and the success rate they have is tremendous in the medium term. I assume that to anyone who knows politics, I tell them, what was the last court ruling? And of course, he will not know, not even against his country, not even against the people, nor against the good politicians of the court, because at the moment, nothing is happening. And that year, nothing is going to happen in the country. But after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that will be operational. And why is it serious? Because that is changing today national constitutions and national laws. It is not a treat. It's like we said before, look, this is going to happen, this is happening. They are changing the constitutions and laws. For example, recently I had to travel to Guatemala for these issues, and they showed me. They have a constitution, an edition of the constitution amended by the Inter-American Court. Then everything that the constitution, that the people sovereign issues in a solemn act, and with everything that a constitution means, well, it is amended by the Inter-American Court. Let's see, some publishers had the audacity to do it, but the same thing happens in practically all countries, in all Latin American countries. In other words, then, I say why we kill ourselves making choices if others are going to come and say what we do. And the second thing is all the battle we have in our countries politically, publicly, culturally is very nice. But if the front is up, they are going to blow us up there. They are going to bust us out there, totally. The other day I went to give a lecture at a university in Spain, and the lecture was about whether democracy was in crisis or not. And a debate broke out, a super interesting debate, and an international relations officer from Colombia told me that, contrary to my opinion, she considered that, yes, it was feasible to make international organizations more democratic. My answer was that this was ontologically impossible, because there are no demos in any international organization, and by definition there cannot be, because the people are national, they are not international. As a counterattack, let's say so, I was not debating directly with her, but rather with another teacher. But she, in the public, made that objection. So I tell her, do you know, for example, who are judges of the Inter-American Court of Human Rights today? And she kept thinking, and she told me, no, the truth is that I don't know. And I say, what is left for the common man, the ordinary man? What is left for the thousands of people who are going to be watching this video, for example? If an international relations specialist who works in the world of international organizations doesn't know the name of the judges, then at least an ordinary citizen will know the names of the judges. Furthermore, politicians in office have no idea who these judges are. We don't know them, but these people even end up meddling in the constitutional letter. From what I am listening to and knowing that information, and that is very, very serious. An important thing to complement your answer is that it all starts from a politician trap, because when organizations are created, they are created to ensure democracy, peace and prosperity. In other words, laudable objectives, so that great wars and massacres of the past are not repeated. And there are very clear mandates in international law. International law is not that each country can do what it wants, but only the mandates. That's what they are called for. The mandates say that they are, for example, the court, in which the mandates of the court and organisms subsidiary, complementary and adjuvant. What does it mean? That it is an organism that is created to serve the states and help them in things that they may have some complication in resolving. At no time, no documentation, none of the binding treaties does it say that the court is above. It says that the court has this, but in practice it is super above. So that is the problem. The bodies are constituted like a space. That is, the bodies don't exist without the countries, and for the countries, in the countries, if the countries don't exist, the body doesn't exist, because it is not its own it's an own entity. It doesn't have its own existence, but instead of being servants of the countries to help concord to create a forum, it's a space that's why they don't have a president. They have secretaries. In other words, they have employees where those employees help the countries to dialogue. But today, those employees say no. We are going to tell the countries what they have to do. That is all for today. I see you in the next video about this topic. We will continue to debate this and talk about this globalism. See you in the next.